I want to show you today this really cool quilting technique that actually does the front of the quilt and the back of the quilt at the same time. So I already got this started to save us a little bit of time so I could show you what it's starting to look like. And so what we're looking at here, I'm going to be doing all of this with just a straight stitch. No special stitches, no special machine, just even the most basic sewing machine will do this technique. And so I pre-cut my squares and figured out how I wanted them to go. So let me show you that first. Putting my colors together and figuring out how I want the colors to go. So I did pink, purple, gray, yellow. And then I did my inside squares that are really going to be highlighted here once it's done, how I want those to go as well. And so here we have what I worked out. You could also do with this technique, you could do these back. See, I did these back all different colors because I wanted it to look like a grid on the back. You can also do all these the same color. You would still cut your squares, but you would do it the same color. And then on the back, it would just look like one solid sheet that's quilted. So I wanted to just do it this way so that you could see a little bit better what I was doing and how the squares actually come together. So what I did is I decided what size I want. Let me get my ruler here to show you. I did my internal square at about 4 inches, and then my external square, let me get it lined up here, you can see there's an inch all the way around. And so I did this bigger square at 6 inches. So you can start with any middle size square you want and any external size square you want. There's no rules here, however you want to do it. And let me show you what happens. So I did mine 2 inches bigger. I did my outer square 2 inches bigger. The reason for that is the way you're going to create these squares is you're going to fold the excess. You're going to fold the excess in half and then in half again, and then you're going to top stitch it. So however wide you want this, you'll figure out your math for this. Okay, so I wanted a 1/2 inch border. You can see this 1/2 inch border here. I wanted a 1/2 inch border all the way around my squares. So I did 1 inch extra, but you got to do it on both sides. So it would actually be a 2 inch square. So 1 inch extra, I fold once and I fold again, and that gives me my 1/2 inch. So you can kind of play around with a scrap and see what you like best. I really liked this size. I thought this was big enough for the artwork on my fabric, and it just looked right for this project, for what I'm doing. So what we're going to do here, now I'm going to show you how to do each square. I figured out how I wanted the colors to go together. So I'm going to keep this pattern going, and I'm going to use this as a reference so that I don't mess up and put the wrong color next to it. I want to keep my grid going well here. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to just sew these 2 pieces. So pink, lavender, gray, yellow. So my next one here is going to be pink. And what I think I'll do, instead of just adding on to this, because you can't really see it in the video. Hi, everybody. Hi. Thanks so much for joining. Hi. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Okay, so I'm just going to set this aside, and I'm going to do this again, but I'm going to start with the purple so that we're doing our next row. So it's going to be purple, gray, yellow, pink. So let me get my purple and my gray. And you can't tell with this fabric because there isn't a right or wrong side. But what you're going to be doing is sewing with the right sides together. This edge here. If there's ever a time to sew straight and to line this up straight, this is the time. Let me move this out of the way a little bit. And then I'm going to sew this at a 1 inch. And you can kind of see here. Let me lift it up so you can see. I marked my 1 inch with some washi tape all the way down. I have the 1 inch mark, but I just wanted to be able to follow it better all the way there. And I'm going to sew this right here again, right sides together. So let me sew that. Okay. then what we're going to do, let me move this out of the way. There's a lot of pressing involved in this. We're going to iron this open. So that's my right sides, my correct, good-looking sides if you're using a print. And then you're going to open it up. So this would be right sides, this would be wrong sides. We're going to open it up, and then we're going to iron it open. Like that. Get my iron going here. Then what you can do, I'm going to turn it this way so it's a little easier to do. Then what we're going to do, my iron cord is fighting me. Then we're going to fold this in half here like this and down. Now you see I'm getting my 1/2 inch fold there. Press that down. And then let's do the other side. Fold it in right at that 1/2 inch mark. And then press it down. Give it a I like to really give it a nice crisp edge. I think that's really important. Then we're going to get the internal square here. We're going to line that up. So my gray one, I used this super cute pink fabric. And so you're going to take a piece of batting, cut to the same size as your fabric. You're going to lay it together here. And then you're going to just tuck it under here, making sure it's centered this way. So to mark your center, one way you can do that is just fold it and give it a little pinch. See, I got my center mark there. And then I can do the same thing with this. And just give it a little pinch so that I have that little groove. That's like a really quick way to do it. Then I can see that I'm centered this way. And now I'm going to lift this up and I'm going to tuck this under as close as I can get it to that seam. I'm centered there. I can see I'm centered here. Move it just a little bit like that. Then I'm going to top stitch right here. And that's going to hold this fabric together. Get my strings out of the way. Get this out of the way. Okay, so now I'm going to just stitch right here. Hey, Zach. Hi. Okay, so let's do that. Again, I want to stitch right on the edge. Trim all my strings. See how this is turning into what we saw before. Now this side, my purple one was, got all my squares pre-cut here. My purple one was this one. So I'm gonna, again, grab a piece of batting, put this right on top. Mark my center with a pinch, just like that. Mark this center. There we go. Line up my centers. Put it right underneath. There we go. I got my centers lined up. I can kind of eyeball it. And if you're doing a smaller project or you need it really perfect, you'll probably want to mark with like I like the friction pens. You can draw on them and then the heat makes it disappear. So you could do that too. But for this, and you'll see why, you don't have to worry about it being super perfect. As we sew, we're going to be trimming anyway. So this is great. We're definitely close enough here. So now I'm going to stitch this one down here. Trying to sew slow so that my machine doesn't get too loud for you guys. All right, so there we have it. We're getting very close here. So now my next color on this side is going to be yellow. And so now this is sewn down, so you don't have to worry as much about it. You can kind of just move it out of the way. So now I'm going to add my yellow strip. And again, this would be the right side. You want your right side up, and that would be my right side if this was a print. Usually on quilts, we do just solid on the back. So typically you'll just be doing a solid. Now I'm gonna sew this at that 1-inch mark that I have marked there on my machine again. So let's do that. These are the important seams, these ones you're sewing right here. Make sure you get those exactly how you want them, because you're gonna be using that as your guide when you fold your fabric. So you wanna make sure that your seam is exactly 1 inch or whatever you worked out your seam to be. Okay, then I'm gonna move this out of the way and I'm gonna pull this to get my nice flat seam again with my tiny little iron. Like that. Really good crisp line. Then I like to turn it this way and get my double fold here. Basically folding right up to that sewn line and then over. So I'm folding it in half. So whatever your seam allowance here is, it's half is what the finish is going to be. And I wanted my borders around to be a 1/2 inch, so I did 1 inch on each side bigger. And then give that a good press. Really nice crisp lines. That's going to make this look really good at the end. Fold this up. Press that down. If you guys have any questions, please ask. I'd love to answer your questions. I will try to keep looking at the screen to see if you type anything in there. All right, let me move this out of the way. Now, because we already started this one, we're gonna just move this down. I want it as flat as possible, and you'll see if I tuck this under, it's too big. It's better to be too big than too small. So that's why I cut these a little bit big. So what you're gonna do is make sure it's all flat, make sure it's exactly how it's gonna lay. It kind of sticks, they kind of stick to each other with that batting. Then I'm gonna trim this back so that it goes under this without having excess. I don't want it bulging. So I'm gonna flatten it like that, get my good scissors, and I'm gonna trim it right about halfway through this. Again, you could take a ruler and draw a line if you're nervous, because if you cut it too short, you have to take this all apart. So that's not good. We don't want to cut it too short. But it also can't be this long. So you could mark the line, but I'm just going to eyeball it here and just go slow. There we go. See, now I'm halfway between. Let's see your comment. I am making a quilt. Thanks for joining. So what I'm doing is I'm making this quilt that is finished on the back and the front at the same time. So you'll notice most quilts, they go together in pieces, and then you have to sandwich it together between batting and the backing fabric, and then you quilt it, and then you finish the edge around. This is a super fast way to make a quilt that you're doing the front and the back at the same time, and it's gonna be completely done. As soon as we're finished, we're just gonna roll the edges up. You don't even need bias tape, and your quilt is going to be completely done. So this is like a really fast, cheap quilt. You got your batting built in here already, so there's none of that rearranging and sandwiching and then quilting on top. This is a great way to make a blanket or a quilt using only a super easy straight stitch machine. So that's what we're working on today. So I trimmed this center piece, and now I'm going to fit this underneath, and we're going to top stitch this one. And you'll see I like to top stitch as close as I can to that edge. So now this is locked in, so now I don't have to worry about this piece as much. So then, from here, we're gonna go pink. That's my next color. Again, this would be the right side of the fabric. Oh, you're so welcome. Glad, thanks for joining. Thanks for asking questions. I appreciate it. Hopefully you'll like this method, and this will be something you'll want to do. So now the pink, I'm going to sew this again at that 1-inch seam allowance. All right, so this one's ready. Like that. So now let's get this side sewn in. And so with my yellow, I have my super cute flamingo fabric. And we're just about to connect all these pieces. It's going to look really cool. Then you'll get a better idea of what it's going to look like. Then I'm going to tuck this, and I can mark my center just so I can get the basic idea of where my center is. And fit this underneath. Looks good. Let's top stitch. Trim everything. Looks good. Now I can move this out of the way and press this again. And this is the last square, and then we're going to connect these 2 rows together so you guys can see what that looks like. And when I do this pressing, I like to pull a little bit. See how that gives me this, and make sure there's no loose bits. That way I get a really crisp edge right on my sewn seam there. Push this down really good. That's what we're looking for. We don't want any extra. We want it completely folded on that seam. Okay. Then move this up here. Then we're going to fold this in half. We're going to fold it right up against that sewn line like that, and give that a really good press. Get that nice crisp fold. Quilting is really all about measuring and ironing. But this does, believe it or not, this does cut out a lot of work that normal quilts are. Normal quilts, you really have to do a lot of cutting and squaring up, and there's a lot of that kind of stuff. I like this one. I find this a little bit more relaxing than the other types of quilts. All right. So now I'm ready to do my yellow on this side. And again, I'm going to get it real flat, make sure it looks real good. And then I'm going to trim the excess about halfway through the yellow. Like that. That looks good. And then tuck it under and top stitch. Again, I'm sewing real slow so that my machine gets really loud when it goes faster. We don't want that right now. Okay, now that's locked down. Now let's do the pink one. And the pink one is that fabric. I'm actually going to finish this blanket and make it for a friend of mine that just had an adorable little baby girl, and I thought this would be really cute. Little French themed. They love anything French. French and flamingos, of course. All right. Okay, and I'm going to top stitch this here. Looks centered, yes. All right, we are locked down. Look at that, looks great. So let me get my other piece here. So here's my other row, and you can see now I'm going to start this grid work like that. There we go. Now, again, we're always going to put right sides together. Now this can get a little confusing because you can think, well, this is the right side. Well, on this piece it is, but remember, this is the right side of the backing of the fabric, and we're sewing the backings together, so that's what we're going to be paying attention to. So we're going to put right sides together, which means I'm going to do this and that. That's how they're going to be sandwiched. See that? So that when I sew it and fold it open, it's going to look like that. So this is where we're going to actually pin so that I get lined up perfectly. You want these seams lined up perfectly so that when you flip it, it looks like it was sewn in a grid. And let me tell you a trick to getting your seams perfectly lined up. Don't feel like you have to start from one edge and sew all the way to the other. If you're making a really big quilt, let's say like a queen-sized bed quilt, this could be a really, really long line. You don't have to start from one side to the other. You can start anywhere. And so what I like to do on these, I like to get it right perfect and start one way across and then the other way across down the middle, or even in sections so that these look perfect. This isn't like sewing a garment where you're just sewing from one seam to the other all the way down. This is a little different. You want this exacting. So I'm going to show you that by doing this. I'm going to sew this from here to here, and we're going to sew it right on that 1-inch spot again. All right, now I'm going to sew the other side this way on the 1-inch. And you can just flip this over. And there's where I started, so I'm going to go from there on. Okay, let's get some of these threads trimmed. So many threads. Okay, remove my pin. And now, when I open this, you can see what the back side is going to look like. How cool is that? We're getting this grid work now, which is just super, super fun. And then this side, we're going to, just like we did all these side seams, we're going to do the center seam the same way. We're going to press it open, fold it in half, and now these are starting to turn into squares. So let me get my mat here to show you this. Okay. And again, I like to make sure I pull these apart really well. And then we're going to press these open. Okay. Just like that. And now because it's thicker, it's a little bit harder, but that's as thick as it's ever going to get. We're never going to get any more than this. Okay. Like that. Then let me turn it this way so you can see better. Then same thing, we're going to fold these up and over. Just like that. And then we're going to give that a good iron so that it stays nice and crisp. Like this. Tuck that one a little bit more. Okay. Good. All right, so now I have my 1/2-inch mark to sew to top stitch. And I gotta get rid of all these threads. I don't want to top stitch these down because you will see that. So let's trim some of those. I think we're good there. Okay. Top stitch this. So now you can see how good that, look at how good that looks. That is so cool. And then I have this grid work going on the back. So my quilt, as I'm going, it's done. Quilt as you go. It's done on the back. It's done on the front. Soon as I finish, that's all I have to do. So what I'm going to do is this next part here and iron that down. And you can see my batting's all built in, so it's all nice and soft here. Top stitch this down, and I'm getting my center parts. Now, when you're done, when you have this all the way that you want it done, the way you're going to finish it is so easy. It's just the same. All you're going to do is fold this up and over, and you're going to top stitch it, and look at that. That is the end of your quilt. That's how you finish it, and it's completely done. You can go all the way around. These will all be the same. Just like here, you'll turn this up and around, and it'll be done. And just top stitch on top. Line up your lines here really well. You can use clips or pins. I have these little clips that I use that I really like. And so you can do that too. You can just pin that up, clip it, sew it all the way around. And again, you don't have to go all the way those huge lines and have it kind of, the fabric move and kind of mess up. You can start from a center and go out, and then start from that same center and go out the other way. That's another really good way to do it. So that's it. That is this super easy quilt as you go method. And thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel to get more sewing tips. I'm going to be showing you how to sew clothes, how to sell things that you're making, how to price things, anything related to sewing. Feel free to ask me. I'd love to answer all your questions too. So again, thanks so much for watching.